Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
What's up, guys? Good morning, good day, good evening, and welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast. It is episode number 35. I'm Frank, I'm your host. Together with me, as always, my wonderful co-host, His Royal Highness, the Duke of Voxington, Jonathan Gilmet. And we have, in like very short time, we recently had a guest. We have another guest on the podcast. It's Emilee Capogni. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. So, where do I start? You're a person that is running around with a couple of hats, actually, at least to my understanding. So, I first sort of discovered what you're doing when I was like browsing Instagram, because that's where you're like most prominent, really, with the content that you create. And I also saw that you're on some of the other outlets as well, like Threads, and but I also saw that you were doing interviews with artists as well. Some of them actually quite famous, I might add. But for the most part, the content you do is around the bass. It's around bass playing. And for us, that actually ticks like two sort of premieres. A, you're the first female guest that we have on the podcast, which is great. Before anybody is like, how is that possible? Please keep in mind, the podcast is still very young. It's like we're doing this for like a little over a year now. So, but yeah, you're the first female guest we have on the podcast. And second, you're the first bass player.
Yeah.
So it's like, cha-ching, cha-ching.
It feels special.
Two boxes checked. I really like that. So, before we get into things, you are located in the Los Angeles area, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, where exactly are you located?
So it's like kind of like 40 minutes from LA, but it's easier to say LA because it's just a lot of people don't understand Chino, you know?
All right. Okay. Chino. That means Chinese and Spanish. Were you in any way affected by the terrible fires around there?
Luckily not, but a lot of my friends were. Like I'm lucky that, like I said, like I live like a good like 30 minutes or so away, so nothing touched me at all. So I got lucky, especially with all my insane gear. That would have scared me.
Damn. Yeah, lucky for you. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people that really were affected. Also, like small companies who are located in that area, like pedal makers and whatnot. So, yeah, not great. So, what made you pick up the bass, and when was that?
So, I was in 5th grade, and like me and my dad like to watch on New Year's Eve, like to watch music videos, like live concerts on then it was a DVD. Now you can stream stuff like that. So we were watching Nikki Sixx, and I always loved that he had a lot of showmanship. He's an asshole, not trying me. I don't know if I can cuss on here, but he's not a fun guy to deal with. But he made me want to be a bass player just because of his attitude, style, and showmanship. And my first bass, which is one of my first basses, which is like right here, is my Thunderbird Gibson, and that was one of my first expensive basses I got, and he's one of the reasons why.
Okay, so Nikki Sixx, and I haven't heard very positive stories around this guy, so yeah.
Well, it was a different era, and when you consider it, the 80s was all about like being, the gods of rock and roll, and I guess being an a-hole, and all that kind of goes along with it. I mean, some of the guys from this era are super sweet. They're really nice guys, but you got some people that their reputation kind of precedes them, and I don't know how you deal with that when you're doing an interview, or if you meet someone and you're just casually talking to them and you're like, oh man, I used to idolize you as a kid. That's the reason why the person's kind of like, whatever. Like, I heard this 1,000 times.
You can't do that. That's the thing. That's I think that's one thing you you cannot do, although it has to be like super difficult. If you meet like the people that are like your heroes, I think you have to act as normal as possible. You have to, deal with them like they're dudes or dudettes or whatever, and not get that like starstruckness much to you. I think that's probably the best way to deal with it.
Agreed. I think that you more have to, like, being a woman in this industry, you learn that you will meet your idols or meet people you do look up to. Some of them are very nice, but some of them are very, and you just have to accept it and walk away from it and understand that you're still going to have to deal with them for the rest of your career. So you just ignore it,
Yeah. And I think in a lot of cases, it's also some sort of weird self-protection mechanism that, it's easier being the asshole and not easy to deal with than, being the guy who, lets everybody in and is like sort of vulnerable, and then people take advantage of you. I think that I've heard, for example, that Gene Simmons is also like a major pain in the ass. Like everybody has to deal with him, said the same thing. And it's probably the same thing. This guy sees himself as a like diehard businessman, and elbows out at all times. So probably a little.
Right.
Apparently, Gene Simmons invented sliced bread.
He did he?
Yeah, Ronnie James Dio said that. He goes, well, according to Gene Simmons, he invented everything like sliced bread and, probably cell phones, probably bought shares and everything. So, yeah, I used to idolize that guy when I was a kid. Like, I used to see him in his costume and all that. And I was like, oh my God, that guy's so cool. And then I heard him talk and I was like, okay. I like the persona, the person. Maybe not so much. That's why I consider myself lucky not to have met some of my idols, because I would be so disappointed sometimes. Like, you hear stories and you go, yeah, I would come across like, I'm a big fan. It's like, yeah, you are a big fan. You just walk away.
Oh my God.
Damn. So you pick up the bass. And Nikki Sixx is mainly responsible for it. And from there on, how does it continue? Like, do you you start practicing? You start playing in bands? Like, what's the timeline sort of?
So I was in 5th grade. My parents made me take lessons.
Good.
And that turned into me getting my first Rickenbacker, which is, as you know, if you follow my page, that's what I mostly use. And like, I've played in bands here and there, nothing that's stayed major. I've been invited to tour with bands, but it just has to work with me. But all in all, I mostly just I went to Musicians Institute, as you know. That was my most big thing, is I just wanted to learn how to play bass and do it correctly and, do different styles. That's what I mostly focused on.
Okay. And so you actually, but you said institute, so you went to study music afterwards?
Yeah, like, so from like junior high all the way throughout high school, I took lessons, and then my instructor helped me record, because when you go to MI, you have to record. You have to do 2 songs. You have to do whatever instrument you're doing. You have to do a solo. And then what else? You have to play, I think, like a major scale or something crazy. And say why you want to go in there in a recording of. And then I went there for a while. It was interesting. It's very sexist of a school, kind of, because like all the teachers are male, and it was just a very interesting school.
Oh, okay. But that was like in Los Angeles, like MI in Los Angeles?
Yeah, Hollywood.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. What time around was that? Like, how long ago?
2011, 2012.
Okay. So like...
It was like forever ago.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I mean, in the meantime, I suppose a few things might have changed around like the percentage of, male and female teachers. I know that the Guitar Institute once wasn't Jennifer Batten like a guitar instructor at MI? I'm not sure.
I think so.
I think she was.
Yeah.
I never met her. Mostly like during that time, it was like I'm saying, like I think the only ones that had like female instructors was keyboards and vocals.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Okay.
interesting. Like in your whole class, when you're a bass player, it's all men. It's so weird.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it has to be. And it has to feel weird in a way. So you said you were asked to like tour with bands, but in the end you didn't. So you kind of declined the offers. What do you think was the main reason? Do you think that because you said it has to fit, it has to work for you? So what is like a point where you say, okay, that doesn't work for me, like touring with a band?
It's the stories I hear of how they treat their members and how they pay their members, and that the singer gets paid more than everyone else, and the rest are just like hired. I don't mind being a hired gun, but I'm not gonna do poverty wages when like, I need a living wage too. For you want me to tour the world and have the time for it, and all the stories I've heard. I've had like where I tell a friend, like, yeah, dude, this band hit me up and they want me to go on tour. Don't do it, dude. Their manager does drugs. And I'm just like,
Ew.
I don't want my gear to be hawked and like put in like a pawn shop or some shit, you know? I strive very hard to have the Ferrari of gear, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing where that's one of the other things that I was always looking at whenever you were like posting a new video. It is always getting featured or sort of like shared by some of those major companies out there, like Orange and Rickenbacker, which is like, and for a company like Rickenbacker to share your stuff, it has to be good. They're not very. I mean, you probably know a few people at Rickenbacker. So do I, and they were like they're very conservative when it comes to a couple of things, modern stuff like social media and all that. So, yeah, so you must be doing something right if they share your stuff.
I actually know no one at Rickenbacker. Last time I actually talked to people at Orange, but I might strive away from Orange and leave Orange because they kind of rejected me.
Okay.
Because the dude there, he's like, dude, we'd love to put you on the artist page, da da da. Then I write their, you have to write their little rep guy, and she's like, well, that's cool. You have a lot of followers, but all in all, you don't go on tour. And I'm like, how many people go on tour nowadays? Like, it's not that affordable, to be honest with you. And then on top of that, a lot of people can't afford to go to shows. I'm like, wouldn't you want someone that's promoted? I'm posting about 4 or 5 videos a week, maybe 3 sometimes, depending on my mood of the week. Wouldn't you want someone that like is consistently posting? Everyone knows I use Orange, so I get written all the time. Dude, which one are you using? Are you using blah blah blah? I'm like, nah, I use an AD200B MK3. At least I know my gear.
Yeah.
So when that's my goal this year, is to strive away from Orange and go somewhere else. Because like with Rickenbacker, I don't know anyone there, but I do look forward to my weekly feature on their story. It's very special for me. I'm like, oh, cool.
I have a question for you. I think you have 2 Rickenbackers, right? Or you have a black one and a white one? You have 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll
Okay.
back up a little bit. Hold on. I have them right here. This is my blue one.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And I have my get 'em strap, my endorsement. Oops.
And what kind of strings do you have on those?
I made sure to like pull, because he said we're gonna talk gear. I use only Aurora strings,
Okay.
colored.
Oh, I've never heard of
That's
those.
why. Because I could see like a color to your strings, and I was like, are those flat wounds, tape wounds? I couldn't
And
really.
this is the white one you're talking about.
Yeah. I used to have I think it was a 72 in the same color, and I'm still kicking myself for not having it anymore.
They're worth a lot. The white one's an 82, 4001. This was my first Rick. I'm gonna pull it right now. I just have to be very careful. It's I didn't know much about them at that time. I wish I would have got it with binding and the shark inlays and shit like that, but I don't regret it. I'd never get rid of it. It's one of my favorites. It sounds the best, especially in a low tuning, for it being a 4-string and not a 5. That's one of the ones I like to use. If you ever watch like the ones that are like in like A, That's a crazy drop A.
Yeah.
Ah,
I hate those ones, but hey, my strings withhold them though, so
so on drop A, what kind of bass strings are you using?
still using gauges, we call it 45
wow.
to 105. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
used to use like a thicker gauge, but I don't know why. I think my endorser got mad that I like to chew up my fingers with my string, so he's like, "I'm giving you light for now on." I'm like, okay, can make it work.
Do you kind of struggle with tuning stability, or have you like adjusted the way you play?
I don't know how it stayed. Like, so when I was gonna go on tour with I won't name them because it didn't really work out, but we're still really good friends. When I was gonna go on tour with them, they'd play in drop A, and I was like, they're like a 4-string will work perfectly. You don't have to get a 5, and I don't know how, but I got that blue one to stay in A, and I kept it in A for probably about 6 months, and it actually consistently stayed in A. I didn't have to mess around with it too much, which I thought it was weird just because of the gauging of the strings, you know? You would think that you need bigger strings because, you know, with that 5, you got that low B, which is what, like 140, 135 or whatever. Luckily, I don't have to do that. I hate 5 strings.
They get confusing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, my dad asked me the other day, he's like, what will it take to get you on a 5-string? I was like, I won't. He's like, what will you mess up? I was like, probably. It's way different. You have to think about the tuning a little more because it's a low B and compared to an E.
Yeah, and
So-
sometimes even the neck can be confusing too, depending on the company. It's like I played 5-string basses where the string spacing was so big, and I don't have very long fingers, and I was struggling to go hit that low B. I was like, this is just 5s. You see people playing 6 strings. Like 6-string
12 strings.
basses. It's like you end up with a neck like this big. Forget it. 4 is, just enough for me.
Right.
yeah. Have you seen that weird bass that the bass player at ZZ Top is playing?
Oh yeah, the super wide
It's
neck
like
there.
20 strings or
I
something.
don't get it. My hand's not even that big, you know? Like, how would you do? Like, are you doing like Rudy Sarzo stuff the whole time or what?
Yeah, so it's super weird. But while we're talking about deeper tunings, what do you think about multi-scale basses for that matter? Because there you obviously like with the fan fretboard, which can be confusing as well. But there you have the big advantage that because the lower string has the longer scale, you don't need that big of a string. You know, it compensates. Like the longer scale length kind of compensates. Or have you ever tried one?
Yeah, I'm like thinking the whole time, I'm like, what am I going to say? I've never tried one of those before. The most of the things I've tried, because people like give me crap when we go to NAMM, they're like, why won't you try any other bass? Because I'm very loyal to my companies. And like, I have a Fender Jazz, and I got like the one I told you guys about. It's really dusty. Don't judge. I got this one, but
Yeah,
this one's
classy.
very neck heavy. I do not like that one that much, but it's like the love of my life, so kind of. But I've never used those. I've really stuck with all the big brands. Like I have had an Ibanez, I have had a Dean, which don't do that. Thunderbird, Fender, Rickenbacker, but I've never tried the multi-scale. I'm very picky, and that's one of the things. Like I can easily probably get endorsed by a bass company that has something like that, but I like Rickenbacker.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, it's like I've met people in the past like 25 years of working in this industry, especially artists that are like, no, I need an endorsement, and this and that. And then they're like, that I think an endorsement is not everything, I mean, would it be great if Rickenbacker comes around and says, hey, Emilee, we want you, on the artist roster, like official. Would it be great? Would be awesome. Would be probably, a dream come true. And then when it comes to, especially you're playing a lot because you're pushing out videos constantly. So obviously, lots of playing means you need to change strings, you need to keep your instruments in check, and everything. So it's definitely good to have someone who supplies you with strings and all the other things. But there's also like a line where would you do or play or take anything just to say I'm endorsed. That's the kind of point,
Well, this is where I work with it. So, because like I am an endorsed artist and I do go to NAMM because of Aurora Strings. I won't rep anything that doesn't fit what I like, and that's where I work. And a lot of my endorsements brag. I ask for nothing. Literally, I go to NAMM. He'll give me 15 sets of strings. He's like, "You haven't asked for anything all year. Here you go." So I have I have probably so many strings. So I'm lucky with that part. But I don't believe in the people because a lot of my friends want endorsements and they're like, "Dude, well, we'll just use your name." Don't use my name. I worked really hard to strive to get that attention, and people don't get it. You shouldn't just sign to sign because you have access to that type of thing. I think that you need to understand there's a point where you can be endorsed, but you shouldn't be asking for anything from them. They don't have to give you anything unless there's a contract like get them straps. I get 2 straps a year, and but I ask my companies for nothing. That's what it should be. I just want to be featured on the artist page because I bust my ass putting up videos and I tag you guys every time.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes sense. 100%. It's just like there's a type of musician out there who's like always like I want endorsements. There are guys who are collecting them. So at some point there's like, hey, I'm an endorsed artist by, and then you have like a super long list of companies. Like, really, like 3 guitar companies? Is that really necessary? And
I didn't know they can do that.
I mean, sure, bigger artists do it anyways. You see guys like James Hetfield or Kirk Hammett or having lifelong contracts with ESP, but then Kirk Hammett comes around and says like, hey, I'm going to do an Epiphone signature model, because it's Gibson's Epiphone, and ESP is not going to bitch about it because they don't want to lose Kirk Hammett over like something as small as an Epiphone signature model that doesn't mean anything. If you compare like being with the company for over 30 years, which Kirk Hammett is at this point with ESP, it's like
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that's something. Then there's this other thing with endorsed artists, that some of them change their endorsement companies like underwear, which I never understood. Like there's this who was it? This bass player, what's his name? Lee Sklar. Lee Sklar has been playing like the same bass that he bought himself for like forever, but he also was endorsed with this amp company, then he was using this thing and the other thing, lots of different things. On the guitar player side, Hiram Bullock, guy who played with Marcus Miller, every new guitar company every 2 years.
That's crazy.
But it's like at some point it becomes it's hard to believe that you really stand like as a brand ambassador for this brand if you just last year you told me this is the greatest guitar ever, and now you're telling me it's this one. So
yeah,
there's this aspect. So it's good that you say like, I love my brands, I'm picky, and I stick with my brands even though Rickenbacker hasn't put me on the artist rooster yet.
They aren't. They're someone that's never gonna endorse me, so like I'm content with it. Just like how like EMG pickups, I'm really good friends with Tommy, and they don't make pickups for Rickenbackers. But if I told him if they ever do, because he's been bugging me to like try some on my other basses, and I'm like, I'll wait till you do something with Rickenbacker. But that's one of the other companies I'd love to work with, which.
Right.
It's just they have to do it. But yeah, I just never understood that, or I never understood the whole like having to be endorsed. Like I know so many people like because I always rep my gear really well and I post it, and I have people flame it, and I'm like, and I write back, I'm like, dude, you do that every time I post them. Like if you want to try to get endorsed, that's your gig, but do not use my name, because I had to have a huge talk with my. I had to have a huge talk with my company at NAMM. Because Aurora Strings, literally, you guys can write them and they'd be like, hey, I work with Emilee. And he'll be like, dude, I got you. What do you guys need? You guys need this, da 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 da.
Oh, okay.
And I told them, I was like, you guys got to stop doing that. They literally give endorsements to people for mentioning my name because of how much I rep them. And it's like, you can't do that. Like, I had one chick write every one of my endorsements and they all showed me the messages. And I'm just like, cool.
Nice.
And then she starts a podcast right after me. I'm like, okay, that's cool. You can be me. Just dye your hair red. It's cool.
Yeah. Get tattoos and everything. And
Fully sleeve up. Imagine. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, and it's also hard to when you're coming up and you're starting to establish yourself, and you have people that see the success that you have, and they think that they can break it apart, analyze everything that you do, and then replicate it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I've watched your videos and I can see there's an identity behind what you do. Like I can see just behind you, like fan of like 80s horror movies. I can tell also by your choice of gear that there's a part of you that seems to gravitate towards that more classic, like rock, heavy rock and metal thing. But at the same time, you're very modern. So there's like this melting of like different cultures together that makes you someone else that wants to come in. They're gonna, if they're not into 80s horror movies, they're gonna have to go educate themselves. Seems like way too much work to try and replicate what you do, right? Might as well be you, be authentic, do your own thing. And when I saw you with the Rickenbacker bass, I was like, this is cool. Like I love those basses, right? Do you find that your choice of gear, the choice of songs you cover, do you find like you're finding your audience because of who you are and your personal tastes?
Yes and no, because I get a lot of slack. Like a lot of people give me shit because of the fact that like I used to cover Rush. I don't know if you were there for that era, but I used to cover Rush a lot. And I used to cover a lot of harder stuff. And then I've learned that my audience likes me covering like Ozzy, which I'm not saying Bob Daisley bass lines are like super easy or anything, but or Tony Campos bass lines or from Static X. I feel like my audience strives towards that, where they want Sepultura, they want Misfits, they want Kitty, and it's like, that's cool. I like all those bands, so it doesn't matter to me. But it's hard to find your audience. I've done where I do Dua Lipa, I've done Pink, I've done Katy Perry, and a lot of them don't like that. Or I've done Black Eyed Peas. Like it's very hard to find an audience online because I just look like a metal chick, and they're like, well, she doesn't like anything else. So when you try to go outside of that box, it's kind of very hard because I don't know if like you guys notice, I like try to show that I can play different genres of music. That's always something I like. I don't like playing slap bass, so that's not something I'll do. But I love some like Les Claypool though. But it's not really. I don't know. It took a long time to find what my audience liked. It took a long time to grow from nothing to 20. I think I'm at 26,700 and something right now. It took I think like 3 years to get there. But yes and no. I think like in the thing with my color, like with the orange and using colored strings. Well, these ones are a lot better because they're red. The thing is, I do it because I dress in all black. So it just pops, I get that pop of color. So it's not, she is that metal chick, you know?
But yeah, that's the, so what did people say when you suddenly covered, Katy Perry instead of, Motorhead?
So I have these like diehard fans where they'll comment on every post, and I love them. And I always sometimes some of them I'll send my Christmas cards to. I love my fans. I love them. I love them. Love them. And they'll comment on everything. But there's some like, well, you look fun. It looks fun playing that one note. And it's like, well, dude, that one note isn't always that easy to play on stage because you have to hit it directly when it hits with the drums 99% of the time. And sometimes the drums can be off a bit. Depends on who you're playing with live. But it's interesting because I've had where like I've done, what are they called? There's a band that I cover that's from Europe. I can't think of their name right now, but she's an insane bass player. And I've had people like, dude, I wish you did more of that. I don't get the numbers. But if I do something like Sepultura, I have Andres and fucking Paulo and all of them I'll reshare my stuff, and it's like then everyone's like coming in. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just the Sepultura girl.
Maybe you just have to do what you like, but find the right balance between serving in a way your audience, making them happy with Sepultura and Misfits and all the other bands that we could mention, and then in between slip a little something off that territory, something else, because you wanna do it. Maybe it's just finding that balance.
Well, one day there's this dude, he's like, I'm enjoying your 4 notes you're playing. So the next day what I did was it was from like back in the Tony Hawk days when they had the Pro Skater. I did some Goldfinger with the Superman song, and everyone's like, okay. So, but then it's funny, you have to do a walking bass line that changes every second, and it never really repeats, but it kind of repeats. And then that one you don't get the views on it. It's like, okay, so like it's so I've learned with that, you just kind of just share on your story, and you're still gonna get the 1,000, 2,000 people looking.
But is there because you said it took you 3 years to get to the numbers you are at this point. How do you deal with, and that's something that we talk a lot here on the podcast with people who are into content creation, like how do you deal with like negative comments or haters back then versus maybe now, where you have like some experience, like putting out content and experience, like, and you can identify someone who's just like, okay, this guy's just, he's just a jerk, don't worry about it. So how did you deal with it in the beginning, and how do you deal with it now?
I'm not gonna lie, probably about the same. I've had a few big artists sit down and kind of have a talk with me. Bradley Hall, the guitar guy, kind of sat me down. He's like, you're at a point in your career, because he follows me, he loves my content. You're at a point in your career with your posting that you really need to stop reading the comments and reacting. That's what they want. And I still have my moments, because I have those nice comments, and I have those ones where they attack and pick apart how I look and how I'm a thicker chick. Like, I'm not a fat chick. I'm a thicker chick compared to like, those chicks that are really thin, and they like to pick apart me. And it's like, I get, that's what I mostly get, or I get easy bass lines a lot. And I'm like, dude, I'm covering what is being played. Do you want me to do something that's not there and it doesn't match up with the track? Or you're doing the same pose that you do in every video. And then I reply back, well, do you want me to walk in and out of frame like I'm pretending to play a show for my computer? Because I could, but I don't think the computer's going to yell, yeah, you're doing it. I still react to the comments the same. It really depends on the moment. There's sometimes I suck it up and I'll delete it. And I'll be like, they just want to mess with your day. And then there's sometimes, if I've had a bad day, I'll start going back with them. And then I'll be like, why do you follow me in the first place? It's like, I've had people where they hate follow me, and they'll comment and they'll like put like a clown with a middle finger, and then they'll delete it immediately. And I'm just like, you're real. And I'm like, you really hate your life that much? Okay, cool. It's something that the whole point of this answer is, I think I react the same. It's hard to have thick skin when you're a woman in this industry, because I have people where they sexualize me a lot of times. I just had a yelling moment with someone yesterday about this. Well, aren't you sexualizing yourself by the way you dress? I was like, no, you're sexualizing me. I'm not asking for anything. Well, then maybe you should dress up a little more appropriate if you don't want those type of comments on your page.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit. That really is bullshit. And look, as a content creator, I think you probably know this as much as anyone else out there. Because you're having success, you're attracting everything.
I know.
Everything. The good people and the bad. And there are some jealous people out there who they'll see your success and they try to minimize what you're doing, and then try to throw it back at you. Like, you only have success because you're a girl. You only have success because this, and that. And at the end of the day, it's like, why don't they use that same fucking energy so that they can have the success that they want instead of shitting on yours? And you can't do anything about that. And that's what's really unfortunate. You can block them, you can do a whole lot of shit, but sometimes these people, they just come in to try to ruin your day. And if you let them, then you're deceiving or disappointing all the people that actually care about you and want to see your content. And that's kind of the struggle of a content creator. Sometimes you do have low moments. You're like, you know, I have a YouTube channel, I have a lot of views, I have people coming in, and sometimes I get the schmucks. You know, when you work really hard at something and they pick it apart and they leave you like this romance book of just comments, and you look at it and you go, this probably took you a half hour of you trying to pick me apart, but at the same time, you're engaging with my content, so have fun. I'll just fucking let you have it. You know, it's like, dude, if I'm going to put a month or 2 weeks worth of work on something and then let someone crush me with comments, then I'm just letting them win. And I think as long as you keep doing what you're doing, these trolls are just wasting their time engaging with your content. It sucks because you can't filter them out. And I think that's really the downside. And the one thing we never talk about is mental health when it comes to content creation. Yes. That sometimes you go in there, you're an artist, you're vulnerable, you're playing music, you're trying to engage with people, and then you have people that are really reflecting like the negative side you have in you that you try to ignore, and they're just throwing it back in your face. Do you ever struggle with that aspect of it? Like, you're putting all this hard work, you're trying to establish yourself, and you got this schmuck who just comes in on that one day, and he just finds the right button, like, and he presses it, and you go, I'm going to delete my channel. I swear. I'm going to fucking do it. Do you ever get those days?
I get them a lot of times, not going to lie. Like I said, I get picked apart by how I look or how I play. Or I have people that be like, you know, that song you pick, I wish you would have done that instead. And I reply back. That's where I'm kind of nice. And I'm just like, well, I play how I play. And I have my moments where I do, like, I'm just like, forget all this, you know? Because they'd be like, you know, bass players think they're so good. You're not guitar players. And it's like, you know, you guys kind of need us in the band. But okay, we're your low end compared to your drums where the drums keeping the rhythm. But there's some days I've gotten better at that. I've had moments where I want to quit. But it's just me psyching myself out because you gain so much success. And it's like crazy going to somewhere like NAMM and having people that recognize you. Yeah. So it's kind of a lot. But I've gotten better. Like, just like how I've gotten better with the whole comments thing. I have my moments, but I try to just ignore them nowadays. Or, like, I try not to, because I know there's so many people that they write me every day. I look up to, you know, you got me to pick up a bass or you got me to play an instrument. It's like, damn. And I reply back and I'm like, you know, keep in touch. If you need any advice, I'm here.
Right.
So that's what I keep the page for, I think, really.
Yeah, it's a very this whole she's successful because she's a girl or because she's what this commenter said, you're sexualizing yourself or whatever it is. That's I find that a very difficult topic to talk about because whatever you say, someone's going to, you know, pick it apart and use it against you. And the matter of fact is, there are people out there that, how do I put this without getting picked apart and throw it against me? I have seen, there are a lot of people out there who are very talented and they just dress the way they like to dress. And if that happens to be something that looks more or less sexy, whatever, then that's just the way it is.
Right.
I've seen guitar players, keyboard players, pretty much every sort of musician out there, male or female, who try to who do the extra thing to like attract people. And in a lot of cases, and especially with female players, they use their, you know, physical aspects. It's just the way that it is. But you can kind of you know, separate them very, very easily pretty much by the first note you hear.
Right.
You know, you notice someone who's really, put the work in and plays great, has great tone, has great attitude. And then on the other side, you know what the others are doing. They're doing it because, some people like to watch things on YouTube without going to other websites where they would have to pay.
Right.
And it goes to a length where even I remember this conversation we had. I'm not sure who it was on the podcast, but are you familiar with Andertons, the big store in the UK?
Me? I'm not.
Yeah. So essentially, think about Guitar Center, like that.
Okay.
That size, but in a single location in the UK. And they have a very big YouTube presence, probably one of the biggest YouTube presence for a guitar store, for a musical instrument store in the world. And their boss, who's very involved in this, got very jealous over a girl that is playing guitar, and she's very much aware of her physical aspects. And she uses that, and she has, I think, 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube at this point. And he got so jealous that he was like, okay, I got to use that to my advantage. And he actually invited her to because he obviously that, everybody who follows her at some point says like, oh, Anderton's cool, I'm going to subscribe to them as well. And that totally went the wrong way, because people were like, dude, you have like top class people on your show, on your YouTube channel. You have guys like Steve Vai, Satriani, Andy Timmons, like the creme de la creme, as they say in the creme business, of musicians in there. And then you invite this chick. Why? Because she plays okay, but you hear her play, and it's like going to Guitar Center where everybody who just started is playing their favorite songs, So, but again, it's you say that, and immediately you get picked apart by people, and you say like, you're just jealous. I'm not jealous. I couldn't care less. I had a YouTube channel that was like it was review based. It didn't work for me, and I couldn't keep the rhythm up because main job. I have a small child, so it just doesn't work. So I went away from that, and that's it. And I'm not going to comment on someone's videos like, you're sexualizing yourself. That's why you're so successful, or play that song.
Right. Oh, I hate that. I hate the whole jukebox thing. I'm like, dude, then put like a quarter in there so I could like make some money off of that. Because I don't. Instagram used to have me monetized, but I don't make money from it anymore. So when people ask me to, I would love to see this, and then you click on their page and they don't even follow you, and I'm like, I write back, but you don't even follow me. But it would be cool to see you do that. I was like, but you don't even follow me. I think the best one I've heard lately is I do interviews with known musicians because I'm trying to date them.
No.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times. Then I'm trying to get to where I can hang out with rock stars and like be in that crowd. And I was like, but I'm already in that crowd. Like, all right. But okay.
Yeah, jealousy, you can see it come in that form where they'll criticize your success and everything that you're doing, and they're always going to put a spin on it. That's why I do my best not to bother with people who have comments like that. There's nothing productive to it, and you're obviously working really hard. You know what you're doing. You know what works for your business, and these people are trying to pick it apart. So when people talk about like sexualization and all this stuff, do they not remember what men did in the 1970s? The overly tight pants with the bulges? Like, there's a lot of those pictures that are really uncomfortable. You go, oh, dude, come on. Like, Couldn't pick better pants? Something a little more slack, dude? Come on. And no one bats an eye with that stuff. Like, yeah, that guy was just on stage singing so we could see his bulge.
You know who still does?
It's true. They wanted to.
Yeah.
But no one cared then, whether they care now. It's ridiculous. But obviously, like I watched your Instagram, and Frank sent it over to me. I had seen your videos before, but I hadn't like dissected it because I'm never on Instagram. And then I'm going through it, and I can tell you have a very kind of eclectic taste in the music that you listen to. So really wide range. Do you find that like having so many styles that you can blend in for your Instagram page, do you find that this attracts more people, or do you find that you have to kind of niche down with a certain style? Like you were mentioning earlier, people are like, play more Sepultura, Chaos AD, woohoo. Do you find yourself kind of pigeonholed when it comes to music?
I think the best example I have is when Brian Johnson joined AC/DC, and he's like, I kind of painted myself into a corner singing like Bon Scott. I feel like with playing so many of the bands that I played, I feel like now when there's a Death anniversary, the band Death, everyone's like, dude, she's going to cover Symbolic. She's going to do, oh my God. And I will, that's fine. Like, I don't mind. But it's expected now. And it's like, as much as I'd love to do a wide range, I just can't because of the fact that it becomes kind of like a niche kind of thing where it's like they expect so much of the same stuff. And I'll tell something I don't really tell any other, because I get interviewed quite often. There's sometimes I could put a video that I posted a year ago on there and they don't even notice. So like I tell people, you could tell when it's an old video, but the best thing is I'm expected to play Maiden, Sepultura, Death, who else, man? A lot of people like when I do Ministry. Likes when I do Ministry. They always post me when I play them. It becomes like a niche thing, kind of. Yeah, I don't get to do what I really want. Like as much as I'd love to play 2112 from start to finish from Rush, nice. People would be like, "Well, that was cool, but it wasn't Death."
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Have you seen the Death to All?
Yeah.
Have you seen them live?
Yeah, I saw him with Steve DiGiorgio. He was doing this bass solo, and I'll never forget. Amazing. And I got it on video, and he just does this like mic drop and walks away. And I'm like, yes, we know you're flipping amazing, man. You're insane. And it's on a fretless, dude, a fretless.
Yeah, it's I saw them.
Insane.
I saw them when they were on tour here in Germany, and I was fortunate enough that a friend of mine is very close with Paul Masvidal, so he got me access to the pit, so I could take pictures and whatnot. That's something that I did for quite a while, like concert photography, and then afterwards got to meet Paul, which was absolutely amazing. I also saw the others. But the thing with Steve DiGiorgio is that he sweats a lot, and he smells like it's just unbearable. So being
so
in
you
that
didn't want him to
backstage,
touch you?
huh?
You didn't want him to touch you?
No, not even be like a meter away, not at all.
But you have to think, so if he would have sweat on you, maybe like some of him would have absorbed in you, and then you could have become like, you could be the next Steve DiGiorgio. On bass.
But I'm a guitar player, and I don't, there are not many fretless guitars out there, so.
No excuses, Frank. No excuses. Talent is talent. Look, we'll figure it out.
No excuses.
I think the best one was, I interviewed Bumblefoot recently, and he's showing me all his gear, and I'm like, man, you play a fretless guitar, that's insane. He's like, it just takes a lot of like ear training and learning like it's nothing. I'm like, we get it, dude, you're unbelievably insane to play a fretless guitar, dude. I couldn't imagine.
And it was the double neck, right? The double neck guitar.
Yeah. See, I only just remember it was fretless. I don't really pay attention to guitars that much. I'm a bass player.
What? Yeah. You don't pay attention to guitars?
Yeah, like when I go to a show, I watch the bass player. I'm one of those people. Damn, I'm sorry. Like
you're one of those bass players.
I am. I'm all about that bass, no treble.
There you go.
Yeah, but I'm kind of the same, but not with. So when I go to a show, I'm always highly interested in the drama. Dramas just absolutely fascinate me, and I guess the best concert I ever had, like looking at the drama, was Porcupine Tree. Familiar with Porcupine Tree, Emilee?
I have not heard of them in my life.
Okay,
should check them out.
You should definitely check them out. It's this guy from the UK who is pretty much writing the entire music, and he has like a couple of guys who play with him. And the drummer of that band. He also went to, what was it? To one of these late night shows at some point. Which who's that late night guy he's not in business anymore? Who loves drummers? Letterman.
Yeah, I was gonna
David
say
Letterman.
that's the only one I could think of, or Leno, but I think Leno's still around. I don't know.
No, but Letterman did, like, one time a year he did Drummers Week. So every evening he had a different drummer invited to a show, and they played like so. And he had like different drummers, and So the drummer from Porcupine Tree went there as well, and it's just absolutely mind blowing. Some people just do things that, you know, like coordination wise, we're like, or Marco Miniman, you know this guy, another drummer. Oh,
It's gonna have to take notes.
I'm writing it down.
All
Can you
these
spell that a
bands.
little slower?
yeah. I think I'm going to send you a list after this podcast recording. Send you a list of musicians you need to check out.
It's all like a book long.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's a suggestion, okay? If you want to get into like some of those bands, there's definitely Porcupine Tree, and check out Opeth if you don't know them.
Well, I know who Opeth is.
Okay,
I got their promo for, I think they released a record recently, right?
Yeah. So the singer from Porcupine Tree produced Black Water Park. So there's a lot of like some of the elements of Porcupine Tree, like the more proggish stuff that kind of seeped into Opeth, because the two singers, the singer from Porcupine Tree and the singer from Opeth, are really good friends.
Yeah.
So definitely worth checking out. They got some really cool riffs. I'm going to have to leave you guys because I have to go. You know, I'm really popular and stuff, and I'm going to sign off.
At the doctor.
No, I'm not that cool. It's just for my kids. So I'm really lame. So it was a pleasure meeting you, Emilee. And if you're willing to come back and talk gear with us at some point, I would love to invite you back and pick your brains and, you know, kind of get a sense of your gear choices and all this stuff. It was a blast. So
Definitely, dude. It was really
I'll
cool.
leave you guys to it.
Yes.
And I'll talk to you guys soon. Frank, did you need me to leave my thing on, or are we good?
I think if you drop out now, there's not going to be any issues because you're at 99% upload, so no worries.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
See ya, man.
All right. Bye.
I was all
And
waiting
it-
for him to drop out. I was like,
So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was you went to NAMM this year, right?
I go to NAMM every year.
You go to NAMM every year. Since when?
07.
07.
I was in 7th grade. Yeah.
Wow.
That was
Nice.
my entrance into the industry because, like I said earlier, I started taking lessons in elementary, and my bass instructor, well, he's also a guitar instructor. He like talked to my mom. I think it'd be really good for her to go to NAMM. And the funny part was, I went under someone else's name that year. That's when you could actually get in without having to like be like. Nowadays they don't check mine because I get an exhibitor's pass, so they don't feel the need. They're like, just go in. You're like top dog.
Right.
That's the highest you can go.
Nice. So
Yeah, or because I go, like I said, I always go in with Aurora.
Right.
They're really cool. I told them this year, I was like, I feel like you guys downgraded me, even though it's an upgrade. They're like, you would rather be an exhibitor than an endorsed artist on your pass. They're like, you can, because I can bring gear in, I can come in early.
yeah.
And I'm like, can I bring a cooler in? I'm just kidding. Free alcohol.
Yeah. So I think my first NAMM was 2001. That was my first NAM, but then it was the only one for a couple of years because when you work, so I worked at a small retail shop in my hometown back then, and you don't get to fly the NAM every year. It's just really expensive. It's a super long flight. I think back then we didn't have direct flights. We had a layover in New York. So I had to go to New York and then from New York to LA. Now I can just go to Frankfurt, which is like 2 hours away with the train, and it's a direct flight to LAX. So not an issue. But back then, but the funny part was when you were talking about like the passes with a name on it, you went with a different name. Mm-hmm. I was instructed to take a picture. I had this like instant Polaroid cam to take a picture for a customer of mine. Take a picture of Zakk Wylde and then have him sign it on the back. And Zakk Wylde was standing there. I think it was the Marshall or the Gibson booth. I'm not sure. And he was standing there and he was like talking to people. And then people would come around and take pictures. And he was like talking super casually and then like going like this for every picture that was taken. So it was my turn. I was like, no, he's going to do the same thing probably. And then it's like, hey Zach, can I take pictures? And it's like I wondered if you could sign this for a customer of mine. He's a huge fan, loves you since the Aussie days and blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah, sure. What's his name? His name is Arthur. And then he was writing something down. Gives me the thing back and goes back to his conversations. And look at the back of the Polaroid and says, "Fuck you, Arthur." Love, Zach.
Aww, that's funny.
So this was fun, and then afterwards, I noticed that Zakk Wylde and Aldi Meola, another guitar player, they had swapped passes. So Zakk Wylde was walking around with Aldi Meola's pass, and later I saw Aldi Meola at another booth, and he's Zakk Wylde. So that's for like not so much to going in with another name. You can just swap passes, and then it's
that's
like,
amazing though.
Sure, I'm Zakk Wylde.
That I think I might have to do that next year. I might have to swap my passes with someone, but you have to have exhibitor also because I have to perform, so I have to bring gear in,
right?
And I don't want to leave my rookies in there. I think the best one was I think it was my second NAMM, 2008. We see Yngwie Malmsteen walking around, and they're like, "Hey, can we get a photo?" And his manager take it while he's walking, and you see him no pass. Later to find out he got kicked out of NAMM because he walked in with no pass, and you have to have your pass on you. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
I'll never forget one year. So before I used Aurora, I used to use Dean Markley, and that's another way like I got into NAMM, and it was the best. I would walk up to there, and I'd get all mine. They would give me stacks and stacks of strings, and he was doing a signing, Malmsteen, and my endorser's like, "Can you move real quick, Malmsteen? I gotta open the bass drawer." And he goes, and I'm like. Yeah, I'm a little cooler than you, just a little bit. And he's just mad dogging me the whole time. And I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, and I'm like, dude, don't go by him. He's kind of an angry guy. So maybe I should bring the box of donuts and like have a Pantera moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't want any fucking donuts. I think that's what he says. But yeah, I've been to NAMM I think I've gone about 15, 16, 17 times.
Wow. And by the way, I think I didn't ask you that, but did you grow up in the Los Angeles area or in California, or do you come from another place?
I'm from California. I've always lived in LA County. So like LA County is like one of the biggest counties well, I guess it's one of the biggest, but so I've lived in LA County almost my whole entire life. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm from California. The accent and everything. Sometimes I sound like a valley girl.
I'm familiar with some accents, but not with all of them. So I couldn't, tell apart if you're from, San Francisco or Los Angeles or however they talk. That's something that you guys know. I can definitely identify someone who's coming from, let's say Texas. That's because that's easy. And I've heard enough, George W. Bush interviews to know what the Texan accent is. I guess I could spot someone from Alabama as well. That's a strong accent.
That's a random accent.
And New York.
That one's easy though. They
yeah.
just sound angry all the time too.
They
One
sound
of my best
angry.
friends is from there.
Yeah, they sound angry, and they speak super fast. Super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this year's NAMM. All the feedback that I got from people that I know in the industry that had to go because they work for this and that company, they said this NAMM was the best in years.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because a couple of bigger companies came
Gibson
back.
came back.
Yeah, Gibson came back. Marshall came back, and then got sold
Orange
to a
came
Chinese
back.
company. Orange came back. So, a lot of companies, a lot of big companies coming back. How did you experience NAMM this year?
Well, I lost my voice the first day in because a lot of talking. Because a lot of people either recognize me or I talked to companies. Like they said, it was the best one in years. I went with low expectations from the last few years because since we came back from the pandemic, the one from the pandemic when we came back, I wish I would have saved my money on a hotel, but my endorser was there, so I had to go. It was empty. It's still pretty empty, but it's way better. Hall D and E are the ones that have all the guitars.
Yeah.
And upstairs have a lot of guitar companies too. Gibson brought back the guitar throne. That was cool. But I think this is the best NAMM since the pandemic. I think it's going to get better next year. I'm hoping Rickenbacker comes back. You know, especially now since they share me all the time, because I would love to talk to them. And I know no endorsement, but love to get close to them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So okay. So the big companies coming back. It's still the case that everybody can get a ticket, right? Like a visitor ticket. Like everybody can go there, right? Or is it? Restricted?
Okay. So nowadays, unless you know someone to get you a visitor ticket, you have to buy a ticket. For me, I've never bought a ticket in my life because I've always been endorsed. Not always been endorsed, but I've always been invited by companies. But you can still, I saw a lot of people with visitors passes. The badge is definitely because mine's all red. At the bottom, it says exhibitor. You can tell because it's yellow.
Right.
It's sad. I know that. I know.
The last time I went was 2018, and there weren't visitors public people that had nothing to do with the industry. There were people that have nothing to do with the industry, but obviously they got the passes from, someone they know at this and that company. But you could see that there were a lot of people who had no business going there. They were just there to I want to take a picture with Nikki Sixx. It's like,
it's true though. I think that the thing I got asked the most this year before NAMM, is there any way you can keep me up on who's doing signings? I was like, dude, I haven't done a signing since I want to say 2010. And that was Dave Mustaine, and he was an asshole. He was so mean.
Oh, okay.
I waited in line the whole time, and he's like, you know what I've been doing? To me, out of everyone, you know what I've been doing all day? I've been practicing how to write my name. I was like, and he said it in his weird way, how he's being sarcastic. I was like, we get it. You're famous and you've been signing your name all day, dude. I got it for a friend because they couldn't go and they wanted to meet him. And yeah.
Why are some of these people so difficult, man? It's like, it's weird. Dave Mustaine. I mean, until now, I only had luck with my heroes. Everybody I kind of worshipped in the past and kind of worship was always nice. Let's see, who was the most famous? Richie Zambora.
Ooh,
that guy is the reason I started playing guitar. I saw a live show from a festival that was in the 90s, and I was like, oh, I want to be like this. I want to play guitar, and I want to be the cool guitar player in the band. And I met him once. He was on a solo tour, and afterwards he actually was super cool. Went out to the backyard of that club, talked to everybody who was still hanging around. So absolutely amazing. I've met the guys from Seven Dust at one point. Cool. they're so cool, like the coolest down to earth people you can imagine. And I'm so happy that I would love for them to go on tour in Europe again, because that is a long time ago, and they were not even the headliner. They were like the opener for Shinedown.
I thought you were gonna say like Static X or something.
Yeah, no, it was Shinedown. And I remember we went with a group of people, and there was this one girl out of that group that she was so eager to see Shinedown, and I couldn't care less about Shinedown. It's like it's not my thing. It's not my music. It just doesn't resonate with me. And I was like, I want to see Seven Dust, and I'm out of there. You know, I'm drinking beer. And I think she was the only person out of that group of like 10 people we went there. She was the only person left watching Shinedown. Everybody was outside drinking beer.
Makes sense though.
Yeah.
That was me when Seven Dust played with Static X. I watched Dope play, then I went to go get alcohol because I got stopped by the band that I didn't mention earlier that asked me on tour because they decided to give me this full blown apology of what happened too. And
Okay.
so then Seven Dust finished, and I looked at them. I was like, Static X is about to play. I want to go watch that because
Right.
Tony Campos is one of my favorites. Sweetest guy ever. He bummed me out though at NAMM though because he was so sweet. Like walked up, he's like, "Dude, how are you?" Because I've met him, I've interviewed him, and he's like sitting there. He's like, I've been meaning because we talk here and there. He's like, I've been meaning to talk to you recently. It's like I've been watching your bass videos. He's like, you don't play the bass lines how I play them. And then he's like, but you know what? When next time we come to like LAOC area, come a little early and I'll show you how to play them like that. And I'm like,
wow.
And I was like, okay. You know,
Sure thing.
I was like, I'll be there. I'll make sure that whole day is free. I'm all yours.
Nice. That's probably the nicest thing that can happen, right?
Well, he's one of the nicest guys. I was hoping to run into Billy Sheehan at NAMM this year because I've met him a few times and now I've interviewed him. So I felt like it was going to be like a Rudy Sarzo moment, but I think he would have talked to me longer because Rudy Sarzo, I saw him. And he's like, dude, that was such a fun interview we did together. And I was like, oh, he remembers me. Because, dude, you know how many people interview him? Everyone. Because he's had such a crazy career, man. He's telling me about when one of the things in the interview was talking about after Randy died and how he didn't really fit in the band anymore. So that's why he left.
Oh, shit.
I think the best part is he didn't tell about the next time he saw Ozzy and Ozzy hit him in the face. Because I do my research.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, dang, dude.
But these are the stories, right? These are the stories or the concerts, and it is. I think it is very weird that sometimes even bigger bands, usually you choose your opener, and this is the strategic decision. Obviously, I played in a like sort of heavier band. For a good 6-7 years, and we actually had a deal with a European-based label, which was a sub-label of Metal Blade back then, and we also opened for a couple of really, really cool bands, and in a lot of cases, they actually kind of underestimated us because we were able to leave the stage in shambles, possibly. And usually this is a strategic decision. So you want your opener to be, not as heavy or like good as you are, because afterwards you are you're the band that's going to shine. And I go to this concert. The headliner is Disturbed, and the opener was Nevermore. You're like, how do you invite Nevermore to be your opener? They are going to like fucking destroy you. Right. And that's what happened. Disturbed were like a quarter into their set and it was like, Nevermore. And we're talking about Disturbed. These guys were big. They were boring, but they were like very big.
Oh, you're going to hurt David Draymond's feelings. You can't say that.
I'm going to hurt someone's feelings.
What if he watches the pod? Now you just ruined it. He's going to be like, he thinks I'm boring.
Yeah. No, he's probably going to tell me, no, because you said that because you don't like Jews or something.
Oh,
That's his. Yeah, that's his kind of spiel, right? That's
I
what he
don't
does.
know. Whenever I listen to my music and it randomly puts on, was it Down with the Sickness? I'll listen to it, but I don't go out of my way to look for them. I'm more of I'll listen to like my like LA Guns or deathcore.
Right.
I don't really fall under that whole I like Disturbed, but like I can't imagine bringing especially with Nevermore coming back. Whoever puts them as an opener is stupid because they're gonna blow everyone out of the waters. Everyone's happy Jeff Loomis is back. He was at NAMM too.
Yeah.
That was crazy. It was crazy seeing the guys from Sepultura because they actually still live in Brazil and stuff. And it's like, damn. And it was crazy talking to Paulo because he doesn't speak. So I posted my photo with him. I don't know if you saw that. And then then I reposted it because he posted it. And then I was like, it'd be cool to interview you sometime. And he wrote back sometime. And I'm like, man, that's going to be I think my hardest thing is when there's big language barriers.
Right.
And I've had that with Europeans too, where there's a language barrier because they don't understand some of the stuff I mean.
Okay. That's probably one of the issues that we like Jonathan and I we don't have. My English is pretty okay for the most part. And I mean, Jonathan is a native speaker, and he speaks French because he's Canadian. So
imagine that, man.
And I speak fluent Spanish.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
Dang.
Yes, I do. That was always every time I went to LA, I had more success achieving things speaking Spanish than speaking English.
Actually.
You go to the restaurant, everybody is like Mexican or Cuban or Venezuelan or wherever they come from, and immediately they serve you with a completely different mindset. It's like super happy. Hey, how is it possible? Where you come from? It's like, I'm from Germany. So how come you speak Spanish with a like South American accent? And then I tell them the story, and they're like, "Oh, that's so crazy." So yeah.
That's crazy. I was not expecting that. They'd be like, yeah, I speak fluent Italian or something. Watching me like I do that too.
So, but since you said that you had that because of the family name, you're like your dad says he has some Italian.
Yeah, I think it's because it's from his dad's side.
Right.
I don't think he knows that much about it because that's not that's not his thing to like go on what's that website where you check what you have inside you.
Oh yeah, those.
He's not one of those. He's not one of those guys, or he's not. Hey, I know my whole family history, like where my mom was like, she think we have like German in us or something like that. That's from my grandpa's side. Yeah, because my grandpa, I don't know. I forgot the dish he liked that it was German. It was very interesting. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's interesting. Plus, I know that I am German to some extent, French to some extent, and Polish to some extent. That's what I know, and I know it firsthand. As I didn't have to make a test. I just I think our like lineage is pretty well documented. But yeah, it's the weirdest mixtures, and funny enough, most of them happen over in the US.
That's
because
crazy.
because in the US, because it's a country of so many from back in the days, immigrants coming from all over the world, that that's where all these crazy mixtures come from, where suddenly that you're like 20% Norwegian and 25% German. You're like,
It's crazy.
how's that
That'd be
even possible? Super weird.
super weird.
I noticed that obviously your biggest presence is the Instagram present, the Instagram channel. But obviously for those longer interviews, you're using YouTube as a platform.
Yes.
But
I also have Spotify and Apple Music.
yes, yeah, obviously wherever you can You can whatever you can use to spread the podcast or the interview. Why aren't you more active on YouTube? Wouldn't it be easy to just do the same thing, to like replicate what you're doing on Instagram? And
No, I've tried it, and Bradley Hall's a pretty good friend of mine. That's one of the things he's like, that's cool. You do interviews, like you're fucking awesome at it. But he's like, to do both on your YouTube base and interviews, it's not gonna translate well, because he has a pretty good following.
Yeah,
he's like, it's not gonna translate well, and it's gonna be very hard. So I started trying to do my shorts as like base covers, and then just have the long scaled ones as interviews, And like actually they do. I've gotten at least 20 new. So it's really hard to get subscribers on there. I wish it was as easy as Instagram. Because on TikTok I have 4,700 and something, and I don't even use that one that often, and it stayed consistent at 3,000 for like 6 months because I didn't even use it.
Okay.
I wish YouTube would go up. I feel like that's what people expect more. Like that I would have a bigger presence on YouTube. I think it's also with consistency. I need to be more consistent, but it just gets really hard because it's very stressful. I get a lot. Like tomorrow, I'm interviewing Night. They're gonna be cool. I listened to the album right before we did this interview. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
they're blackened heavy metal.
Ooh. So, I think the difference with Instagram and YouTube is that the accessibility to Instagram is somewhat like, when we look at the demographic, we look at like the different age groups, is very much like this. You have a lot of like young people, and then some up to I don't want to, what you want to call it, was like up to 50 and a little bit over, and then afterwards it like totally fades away. Whereas like YouTube, obviously everybody can go up to YouTube. Not everybody has the Instagram app downloaded on their phone. I know my grandma doesn't, 100%. So I think it's also a like sort of a demographical thing. Yeah. And yeah, your body is absolutely right. If you do one type of content on your channel, people expect that to be sort of like the norm, the stream. And if you suddenly start to do something else, people are not receptive. And also it messes with YouTube's algorithm, because YouTube wants to recommend the same sort of content. But hey, you could do a second channel.
It was really hard to get where I'm at now with my subscribers. I couldn't imagine starting over. That would be, I don't know. I'm hoping that like this year's a bigger year for YouTube for me. Like, cause man, on Facebook, not counting my friend, I have over 1,000 friend requests pending, and then I have a following of over 2,000. Then on TikTok, I have, like I said, the 4,700, and then with Instagram, even on my personal page, I got 3. I don't even have to do anything, and I'm almost at 4,000 followers. YouTube, it won't click. It's like nope. It's really hard. And then with Threads, I don't even have to do Threads. I think I have like, was it 6,000 followers there? I don't even do anything. I post stuff occasionally. Yeah. It's weird. It's very weird. I'm hoping YouTube becomes a little easier. It's just, maybe I'm not navigating it correctly. I mean, I'm 32. I don't understand it as well as a 20-something-year-old.
It's, okay, but you said you were also on TikTok. Is TikTok currently available in the US? It isn't, right? Oh, it is?
Hold on.
Oh.
Now, the moment we've been waiting for.
See? I got TikTok stuff.
So because
chicks and bras and stuff. Okay.
Nice.
Very interesting.
So, but you're using like a remote server for that, or what do you do? It's available?
Yeah, but you can upload it on the App Store. It's not available on the App Store. They signed an order saying for, I think, is it 90 days? But they have to sell to someone that is like whoever our
US-based,
president, our president's cool with, you know? Because I don't know, but yeah, the best part is when TikTok went out, the little thing said, "Your president." He wasn't even our president yet. "Your president's currently working on it. You're gonna have it back soon." I was like, "Okay, cool."
That's so weird.
I know.
To get that sort of message. But I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, TikTok is. I think the US is TikTok's like most important market. So obviously,
It's like the new shopping network, kind of. You could just see something and you. I don't know how many things I've bought off of TikTok because it's like a shopping network. That's how it basically is.
wow, isn't that what Instagram wants to be? Instagram wants to be like sometimes you see like these videos. In most cases, they're obviously like paid for, so that you see them, and you always have like this little shopping icon there, so you can directly go to the. I think that's what Instagram is sort of like trying to achieve, but yeah, TikTok's just so much better at it, and
I feel like our news feeds are completely different on Instagram. I hardly see those.
really.
Yeah, but then again, like most of my news feed is guitar players, bass players, drummers, tattoos, pizza. I have a corgi, so there's corgis all over my. Yeah. So like, I don't. It's probably because I don't really shop on no, I do shop on the TikTok. I don't shop on the Instagram.
Okay.
That's why I don't think I'd put a store up there because eventually I'll put a store because I have so many leftover strings. Not. I do have a lot of non-used ones, but ones I've used and I know they'll sell. Where I can make them into bracelets or something stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media social media is like a weird thing. Either it's like,
I know.
I mean, either it helps you. I mean, look, for you, social media has played a very important role in building what you have now and what you're doing, and you continue to do it. And as long as it's fun for you, and as long as it kind of fulfills you, and it gives you the feedback that you want, you know, in order to be motivated to keep doing it, great. You know, it's
Right.
So for you, it's an essential part. For me, sometimes it's like sometimes it's a total shit show, and especially so. I'm cool with Instagram. I left Facebook a while ago because I couldn't stand it anymore. So I'm fine with Instagram. I'm fine with YouTube. And then for some reason, I got like pulled into installing Threads. I don't know how that happened. It's like, hey, you can, because Instagram places these like little things like threads in between, and I was like, oh, okay, so this company is on there as well. Yeah, maybe I should join. And now I don't know how they generate their like algorithm and feed.
It's interesting.
But I feel like I'm just getting like bots. It's just like bots everywhere. It's female bots who want to invite you to join their OnlyFans. I'm like, really? I've asked, and then you're supposed to like post things and say like, dear algorithm, I want to blah 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 blah. See, and these things. I've done it a couple of times. Nothing changes. And it's just terrible. I feel like
awesome.
I feel like Thread wants to.
I think my Threads is all like goth chicks. Let's see. Hold on.
Yeah, some of those.
It's like Mike Leon's flying home, the bass player of Soulfly. Then it's a bass. Then this is another bass player I know. His name's he's actually speaks like fluent Italian. He's cool as fuck. He's a really good bass player. That's yeah. Mine's just all like guitar players and bass players and stuff.
I want to find out right now what mine is.
It's gonna be like OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's like some like selfies of some
Bot
chicks. Yeah, bot chicks that and it's always the same wording. You know, how is that possible that everybody uses the same sort of phrase where it says like for example, my ex said H cups are too big. What do you think? Like, I don't give a shit. Yeah, it's super weird.
I like that my algorithms are way better than yours, dude. Mine are
apparently.
Mine actually like follow. Like with the reason I keep Facebook is I feel like it's very personal. You can talk to people, and I get a lot of friend requests. But then Instagram, I think, is more for videos and pictures, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah.
TikTok is more like you're doing skits and stuff, which I don't do skits. I do bass videos. I don't think I could do the whole mouthing a song thing. That's why I think it's crazy when people are like, well, you should plug directly into your interface and record that way. And I was like, oh, then do you want me to mime the song for you guys too? Because then then I'm really not playing.
Yeah.
And then Threads. Well, my Threads is way better than yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta.
Do you
I
want
gotta
my
find a way.
Threads? I'll give you my Threads.
Yeah.
It's all bass players. You love those, don't you?
Yeah. I'd rather see bass players and goth chicks than like some OnlyFans bots, please. That's terrible.
It's the best.
So, you said that you're looking into 2025 as sort of a, I want to go places. What is on your to-do list for 2025?
So I want to start playing live. I haven't done that in a long time. I want to get back out there and start playing live consistently because I feel like that would bring a bigger following. I already have a pretty decent following to offer any band. I want to go on tour. That's another thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to travel. That's my biggest goal. And to keep doing big interviews, like, I'm not trying to be mean to smaller bands. I'll take on smaller bands, but I like interviewing bands that are going to benefit me back, And that's why, like, I get so many messages to interview so many bands. But, like, I think the worst thing is that they don't really pitch you an idea, like, where you pitched it to me of what you wanted to do on your show. But for me, like, it's all about pitching. And it's like, for me, I want bigger bands that actually want to do big things. And then I want to tour or play shows. I think those are my... And then I think by NAMM 2026, because I have to go, because I have to perform, I want to hit 50,000 followers on Instagram. I'm not too far off. I'm about, 22 out,
Yeah. I guess
That's not too bad.
No, I think it's achievable. And if it's true, what a lot of these analysts say is that the more followers you have, the more exponential the curve gets. Where it's like the more you have, the easier it is to increase that number by just being consistent. And I mean, consistent you are. That's for sure.
I say yes and no because there's times where Instagram is very interesting. I can go where and it's always the video that I play the least amount of bass on, like Limp Bizkit. I'll never forget the shit I got for that one. Where I got
Really?
over... Yeah, same with Beastie Boys. When I went to New York, I did a Beastie Boys cover. They're from New York.
Right.
So why not? I got 4,000 followers off of that video. And the whole time, oh, it's fun. You're playing 3 notes. It's always my easier songs I get. I feel like there's times where the algorithm picks up. And then there's times where I feel like I can't get a follower to save my life. And it's like, okay. Or what I learned yesterday, so I posted that picture with Tony Campos, and I posted on both pages where I collab share.
Right.
It interacted with my base page more than it interacted with my regular page, and I was like, okay, Instagram is very interesting. It's very indecisive, I feel.
Yeah, it's kind of there's things that you can predict. And then there are other things you cannot predict at all. I mean, we had an interview with a guy named Thomas Blug. He's an amp designer from Germany who's really successful internationally as well. And one of his products, or a component of one of his products, got ripped off by Blackstar. So they actually looked at what's working very well on this amp, and they were like, oh, we're just going to clone that and put it into one of our amps. And then they also named the product super similar to his, which is I mean, if you're stupid enough to steal something and or clone it, at least name the product so that nobody's suspicious, nobody's.
Yeah.
And so during the podcast, I asked him about it and how he came across the fact that these guys essentially like stole or ripped off his design. And so he told the story, and we made I think like 10-minute clip out of that section, and it's just still shooting up.
Cool.
It's like it's super cool. It's like a 12-minute video that's like 70,000 views or something.
That's
so
cool.
And people commenting and people like no, I'm never going to buy a Black Star amp again. Fuck them. It's like very. So sometimes it's very predictable. Like you cover a certain song, for example, or you play something, or you do a certain thing that you know it's going to work. Sometimes as expected, sometimes it exceeds your expectation. And then sometimes you do something, and I had no clue that this would happen, for example. I thought like, oh, we'll do the 12-minute clips for people who don't want to listen to a 1.5-hour podcast.
Yeah.
And suddenly, spikes, and I had no clue it would happen. So, yeah, I think it's interesting, and it's very unpredictable.
It's a very unpredictable thing. I've had it where I'll do a clip of an interview and it picks up immediately, and then I post like a different clip from the same interview, like, because I've been trying to do more throwbacks to bring people back to those interviews.
Right.
And it feels like it goes nowhere. Like last week with the whole Sum 41 thing, I thought that would pick up. I mean, it was their last show and it didn't pick up. It's like, oh no, you got 25 likes. 25 likes? I have like over 20,000 followers. It's very, I told you, like, and like, I'm one of those people where I've actually earned my followers. They're not bought, like, because you always get those messages. You can buy 100,000 followers for 200, but why would you mess up you'd mess up your engagement completely?
And also they're fake. They're fake followers. They're not going to help you in any way. I used to get those messages as well. We still get them. We get them through YouTube, and we get people who tell us, I am from, I don't know, put country here. I don't know where they're all from. And they're from everywhere, and they tell you that they can optimize, your engagement and whatnot, and all these things, and they're going to do it for free. And if we like the result, we pay them on a monthly basis, and we know that this, like, we are going to do it for free is completely fabricated.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Either you earn your followers or subscribers or whatever you deal with, whatever platform you deal with, and you earn them the honest way, or you just don't do it.
I think the best thing is when you see someone with 100,000 followers, because I have it all the time, and then you go look at their videos and they have like 100 views. That's how you know. Like, we're like, yeah, you're not every video is going to get 10,000 views or 100,000 views. But if it's not getting more than a few thousand views, you're buying your followers.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my opinion on it. And that's what I've kind of learned. Like, people do that. And I'm just like, dude, like with the one I have right now, I did Rock and Roll from Motorhead. That one has, I think, over 60,000 views right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a few that have like over 100,000, but they're all easy bass lines, one stringers, it's like, I'm a bass player. What do you want me to like improvise on top of the bass line? I don't think the band would appreciate that.
No, and it's going to mess up the song as well.
Right? And walk in and out of frame too. I should do that for one video and see what everyone says, and be like, dude, this is what you guys asked for, and I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, it's weird.
Maybe even wear a turtleneck too.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that. But it is interesting. I think there's two sort of phenomenons around people telling you that, oh, it's easy what you play, or it's like, oh, it's one stringer. So I think one aspect is that, especially on Instagram, musicians are trying to like beat each other with like virtuosity and difficulty and whatnot, which is something that, I mean, guitar players, it's almost athletic these days. People are going fast and they're coming up with like the fastest licks and whatnot, and they pack it all into a 1-minute video, and they would never be able to replicate that inside a song structure on stage, but who cares? So it's a lot of that.
How many takes they do to do that too?
Huh?
You know, how many it takes it for them to do that too? A lot of these aren't done in one take, and a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah,
and some of them are done in like an actual like editing thing where they string these together where it just fits and flows perfectly.
Yeah, 100%. And then we had this time a couple of years ago where everybody was like speeding up their shit, which is like, and you could hear it, and it's like, oh God, this is embarrassing. And you still had people like, wow, amazing guitar player. I was like, this should speed up. But that's one aspect. So there's this like, it's like people are trying to outplay each other, which is very annoying because it takes the essence away of music. I
think the best thing with that is, so I had Becky Baldwin stay with me at NAMM, and we get compared a lot because we both play Rickenbackers. And I was like, look, me and you can go do a King Diamond cover, and it's going to be done completely different. And like for me, like in this industry, I don't think it is a competition. Like there's a chick I saw that follows me. She plays guitar. I talked to her before she did her demo, and I was like, do you have any string endorsements? And I got her a string endorsement on the spot. Nothing should be a competition in this industry. We all play different. We all need to be helping each other out. And, I've done the whole helping chicks out. A lot of them don't get it, and they just think it's a big competition. And when you can help each other out, there's so much you can do. Or, like, I think the biggest thing was, so I cover a lot of Sean Wassett. White Zombie's one of my favorites. Someone's like, well, I can't cover her today because you're going to cover her. It's an anniversary. I was like, why don't we do the same cover? Who cares if we get compared? It's going to be done completely different. You can be using a pick if that's what you do. I use fingers. No, if someone wants to say something, I'll comment on and be like, dude, I think it's cool we're doing the same cover. I don't get the competition aspect of this industry. I think if everyone helped one another out, we want to have so many struggles and so many, like, who's top dog and who's not. Yeah,
I agree 100%. Unfortunately, people see this as a competition, like so many other things. They a lot of people are being born into this like system that makes you believe in, everything is a competition. You have to be the better guy, the bigger guy, or girl for that matter. It's just I think it's very very counterproductive.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Stupid.
The other aspect, obviously, of this whole, there's the rivalry of like, I want to be faster than the other guy, and what guitar players don't understand, and that's one of the things that applies to I would say the majority of guitar players. Everybody always talks about like the great guitar sound, the amazing guitar sound on that album. What they don't realize is it's a mix between the bass sound and the guitar sound. If you switch off the bass, the guitar sound is going to be as tiny as this. And it's going to be really thin. And then you switch on the bass and like, oh, there's it, the amazing guitar sound. No, it's this is like a clockwork, works hand in hand. And if it doesn't, you can, nobody cares about your guitar sound. People are going to think it sounds like shit. So, all right. So we've covered your plans for 2025. Usually we have a section at the end of this podcast, that's Jonathan's job, but since he has to go to the doctor, I'm going to do this job for him. So we've established that, you love your Rickenbackers, you're loyal to your Rickenbackers, you're loyal to all the companies that you work with. So we're going to focus, this is like a rapid fire sort of question thing. Okay. Without thinking too much about it, what's one of your favorite bass sounds?
One of my favorite bass sounds, like tone-wise, like bass player?
Yes, bass player wise, like because there are bass players out there that and I know there are a lot of out there that have a great sound, but there has to be someone out there whose bass sound is so extraordinary that you're like, oh, this is just like, this is my thing.
I'd have to say Geddy Lee because there's so many eras of his playing, and it goes from Rickenbacker to jazz bass to Steinberger to back to jazz. But like it's all like, I love how many different eras he has, and it's a different sound for each era, and you don't really see that. A lot of bands stay consistent with their sound, and with him, he stayed an excellent player throughout the whole thing. His bass always sounded phenomenal. He's one of the reasons why I have the 8200B MK3 head and OBC cap. He's
Right.
one of the reasons why I use orange.
Right. Okay.
And
so
Rickenbacker.
Geddy Lee, anyone else that comes to mind?
Sean Massette's pretty cool. I love her. She another Ricky girl. She has a Schecter too. She's more of a pick girl. I'm not a huge pick person, but I love her tone. If you listen to those early White Zombie records,
Yeah.
those are some mind-blowing moments. That tone is everything. Without that tone, I don't think that, nothing against Rob Zombie, I don't think he would be as relevant. I feel like he would have made it because he is a phenomenal, talented musician, but that band that backed him, especially Sean, brought a lot to that table and that sound. And that's one thing I try to replicate every time I play White Zombie.
White. Good one. Yeah. I'll say if I had to pick one bass tone, it'd probably be Doc Pinnick from King's X.
Oh, he's sick. He was hanging out at the Tech 21 booth when I was at NAMM.
Yeah. I think that
And
was
he's playing with my friend recently. He's going to play with my friend next month.
really, he has this jam session going on somewhere in LA, where I'm not sure where. We had a guy called Frank Falbo on the podcast who makes excellent instruments, and he knows the guys from King's X very well, and he's good friends with Doug, and he's also always invited to that jam session, and he plays like the lap steel. So it's kind of a quirky thing because they mix all kinds of genres. But
Very interesting.
yeah, super interesting. And Doug, I've seen King's X live a couple of times, and every time they make the sort of like just before the show, like line check, and they play the bass, it's like always. Back then, he had like 2 or 3 like Ampex 8x10, and he always had and that's a weird choice, but he had a Roland Jazz Chorus, which is a guitar amp. Okay. So he was splitting the signal, and he would like the distortion would come out of that guitar amp, and then and it was just like an earthquake every time he hit the bass, like bam, and you stand like 10 20 meters away from the stage, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can take this anymore.
Right.
Yeah, so Doc Pinnick and Ryan Martini from Mudvayne.
He has a distinct tone. It's a sick tone.
It's
not a big Mudvayne fan, but all in all, as a bass player, you have to respect him. You just have to.
Yeah, I think the LD50 album which was their best album, because it's heavy, it's sort of progressive in a way that wasn't expected back then, because back then who was around? Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, etc., Korn, these guys,
right.
And most of these guys were pretty straightforward, and these guys come around and they are like painted like some freaks. And
they still are too.
Yeah, they yes. And his bass tone was super different, because he almost made it sound like a fretless bass here and there. He's playing like, is he playing a fretless bass? No, it's not. But yeah, he has a very special tone, 100%.
Very talented.
And then that would be the last question. What are your 3 Lonely Island items to take with you? So you're stranded on a lonely island, and 3 items means everything from musical instruments to any sort of gear, but also personal items that you cannot live without on a deserted island.
Yeah, that's actually hard. Of course, my corgi, my dog.
Yeah.
Because that's my life. That's my little companion. Probably this one, because this is my
Yes.
beauty, my midnight blue.
Very good.
The only problem is, does that come with? Do I have to pick an amp because like it has to have sound? So that would be my third item, or does the amp come with it? But if it didn't come with it, man, this is really hard. Damn. I don't know. That's like a really hard. I've never had that asked to me.
No, really? Okay.
The third item is really hard for me. I guess it would have to be. I guess since I can't think of the other one, it'd have to be my amp. I guess.
It's a good choice.
I can't think of any because I can't think of anything else that I couldn't live without. Because you can't. I'm not gonna just pick one because I have 800 vinyls. I'm not gonna just pick one. You know.
No.
Imagine, and then I had to pick a record player with it. So.
Yeah. So no, but it's a good choice, and it actually didn't take you too long to answer it. I remember that not last year, that in 2023 at a guitar show, like a mini NAMM here in Germany. I was the organizers asked me to do interviews with artists at a booth that they had set up there, and I don't know if you know Larry Basilio, the guitar player.
I don't.
Okay, so
I'm learning. I don't know a lot of people you've named today.
Yeah, she is. She's actually. She's probably one of the more famous like female guitar players that is actually like a proper seasoned player, and she's playing with like amazing musicians as well to record her albums. So. And I asked her the same question. It took her a long time. She didn't know what to say. I think she answered, well, she has a signature guitar with Ibanez, so
Nice.
Signature guitar. And it says, and I need the matching lipstick because although I'm on a deserted island, I want to look good. So
That's pretty good though.
So yeah, that was. But it took her a long time to answer the question. So you were a lot quicker.
Well, I'd like when I thought about it, like you have to think if you have to pair it with something. I can't like bring like one vinyl and have no record player. Or thinking about it, not have an amp, or I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna bring a microwave. Well, then I have to like pick something to bring. Like it would be interesting. But yeah,
It's also
I couldn't live without my bass.
It's also a weird question to ask a musician.
It's a fun question.
Yeah.
I like to end my interviews with you're in a tomorrow. It's like you're in a blackened heavy metal band. What's your Mount Rushmore of that subgenre? Like of who started. That's how I usually end my interviews.
Yeah. If you want to include the desert island question, do it.
Oh, you start seeing me steal that.
No,
I think the one I'm adding in now.
Very normal. It's a super normal thing for interviewers to include that question at the end, to kind of put the focus away of everything that was talked about and said, okay, let's put the focus somewhere else. And please use it because you'll see that depending on who you're interviewing, the results are going to vary vastly. It's like absolutely different.
That's a good one. And then the one I told you, and I think the one I've been trying to add in more is because I interview a lot of bands at tour. I'm like, what's your favorite restaurant to eat on tour, and what's your order? Because you don't hear that often.
That's an interesting one. Good one.
Yeah, like I try to. But if you've seen my interviews, I try to start it off with like a base where we talk about recording, then we go into touring because everyone tours. You have to talk about touring, and then I just start making it fun. So, what's your favorite tour pranks to do on tour?
Yeah,
you don't hear that often,
Exactly. You only see it on tour videos, outtakes, and all that stuff. Emilee, this was really fun. We have to do this again at some point.
Definitely.
Maybe when you hit the 50,000 subscribers, and we can celebrate that. Drinking beer. We'll have to pick a different time for the podcast then, because drinking beer at 11 a.m. is not the most appropriate thing.
Then you didn't see me at NAMM. You could ask Becky. I started drinking because it's like kind of a easing into the day. I started off, I think, at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Damn. Yeah.
You're like, I'm not partying with you at NAMM. Forget that. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm totally down for that. I'm up for that. That'd be cool.
Awesome. Then, yeah, thanks for your time. And we'll definitely do that again at some point. Hopefully, we're going to stay like 3 and and Jonathan doesn't have to go to some sort of doctor.
6 months later.
And well, to all of you listening and chiming in on YouTube and whatnot, please don't forget to subscribe. Ideally, hit the bell icon. If not, subscribing is fine as well. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's more fun for us. And until the next episode, I'll salute you.